welcome to Ultra Q. My name is Red, and I'm joined by Mel
Hello.
and by Razan.
Hello.
This is a podcast about going through the Ultra series mostly in order. The mostly is important today. But basically, I'm a Toku baby. I know nothing about Ultraman. I have watched maybe 10 episodes total of any Toku series in my life. But I'm really looking forward to going through this. I assume everyone else here has watched a little more than me.
Yeah, I actually am baffled. I thought going into this, until you just said this right now, that I would be the one with the least amount of experience. I also consider myself a Toku babe. I don't know, maybe I'm a Toku toddler at this point. So like I kind of miss the the Power Rangers wave that happened when I was a kid. Like if it wasn't animated, I just didn't really feel the need to watch it when I was younger. So I missed out on that. A little bit later on in life, I stumbled onto the Guyver movies, which is,
What is
I
Guyver?
Diver's a thing that I want to check out at some point. But
yeah, so Bio Booster Armor Guyver is another tokusatsu thing that I believe started as a manga, and then eventually got made into two live action movies. The first one is like kind of forgettable aside from the fact that Mark Hamill is in there. But the second one stars the second one
Wait.
stars yeah. The second one stars David Hayter of Metal Gear Solid fame, as he goes into like caverns and fights aliens, and it's just a wacky good time. Guyver 2 Dark Hero, a little bit of a cult hit, but very like cheap to find on Blu-ray still, I think. So like for a while that was my only real tokusatsu experience other than like the stray kaiju like Godzilla movie here and there. Then recently my friends kind of started to get me more into Kamen Rider. I watched the majority of Kabuto with them as part of a group watch, and I was like, okay, there's more fun stuff here than I thought. We also did a group watch of Build that, like, we petered out right towards, like, the last 5 episodes and still haven't gotten back to it yet. It's been years. Been meaning to finish that up. And then at some point, I started a podcast watching the original Kamen Rider with my friend Fang, and then life happened. We're hoping to get that started back up soon, in part because I feel guilty starting a second Tokusatsu watch-along podcast without wrapping up the first one I
Oh
did.
man.
so when are you starting your Super Sentai podcast?
I don't know. I need to find a third group of friends to do that one with. Yeah, so I guess oh Jesus, I'm nearing probably about 100 episodes of Tokusatsu. Yeah, I don't know if I can call myself a baby anymore. But I don't know anything about Ultraman or the Ultra series, I guess, because it's more than just Ultraman, I guess. I don't know. I'm very new to this. Ultraman is something I associate with people's dads. Like, when I think about the people in my life who are really into Ultraman, it is always someone in their middle years who is the father of someone I know.
So Ultraman is Dad Toku.
Yeah, that's like kind of always the vibe I got from it.
The dad rock of Toku.
Yeah. Well, I guess, Mel, you're the veteran here,
Hello.
so if you want to go to your
Yes.
Toku history.
I would say my Toku experience is a bit more expansive. Like again, with similar to Razin, I didn't watch Power Rangers at all as a kid. I was like, dang, this looks dumb for like the reasons you do as a kid, completely arbitrary reasons. So I didn't watch it. But at some point, through twists of fate, is related. But I got into Precure, and at somewhere along the line, one of my friends was like, "Hey, this Kamen Rider thing is cool, and I want to show it to you guys." And I was like, "Well, I want to show Precure to you guys." And so we did like, it was like in 2015, we did this crazy thing that cannot be replicated again in history, where we'd like group watched across like half the year, like 6 seasons each of Kamen Rider and Precure, like alongside each other.
That's so much.
Yes. We got through, like, on the Kamen Rider side, we did double through Gaim, and then picked away at Drive after that. And then on the Precure side, we did, like, fresh through So, crazy amount of shows in a crazy amount of time. Definitely aided by the fact that we were both in our early 20s, and also my school had a teacher strike at the time, and so I just basically didn't have classes. That helped. And after that, I was like, oh yeah, Kamen Rider is cool, and so like I watched like Ryuki and Deno and different shows, and started trying to watch the airing shows. Also tried on and off to get into Super Sentai, and it was like a really on and off thing, which is like some of these shows land for me and some of them don't, and that has changed recently because that's been really good lately. But it's not about that. At some point, I got like involved with like being on Toku Twitter, and my friends were like talking about like, oh man, Ultraman is cool. Ultraman Orb airing right now is pretty good. And I was like, well, I should get to that eventually. And then eventually in like I think it was like 2018 or something, the new show airing was like Ultraman RB or Ultraman Rube, and I was like, okay, I'll watch that, and I enjoyed it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I went back, went to Orb, and like picked away at it for like half a year, and like didn't. It got like halfway through, and left it aside for a bit. And then next year, the next season of Ultraman came out, and that was Ultraman Taiga, and I was like, oh, I'm really liking this Ultraman. This is cool. Go back and finish Orb, and then I somehow marathoned it in like the rest of it in like a day. And then I was like, oh, okay, I'm in a mood now, so I guess I'll watch the next show, Ultraman G, and then I binged that in like 3 days. And then I just kind of watched more shows, burned through a bunch of shows in like as the pandemic started. I like went through Ultraman Nebius, Ultraman Nexus, Giga, Dyna, Gaia, and then I kind of stopped binging Ultraman as much because unfortunately, in the middle of July 2020, I got hit by Gundam, and then I got really into that, and that kind of came at the expense of Ultraman. But you know, shows I kept up with like Ultraman Z as it aired. I finished that. Fell off Ultraman Trigger, and then also fell behind on Ultraman Decker, which is the show that is airing now and almost done. And I don't know if I'll go back to it because we have this thing, but maybe I will. But yeah, that's my general Toku shifting into exclusively Ultra Series territory. We don't need to get into the specifics of my other Toku stuff because I've seen a bunch of other stuff right now.
That was a lot of Ultraman shows that it reminded me of like the early days of looking at like the Gundam Wikipedia page and looking at the titles of shows and going,
I mean, I think there's a similarity when you're like getting into Gundam and getting into Toku shows. You're just like, what the fuck are all these things? There's like so many different things, and it's just like that.
You could have made up half of those, and I don't think Red or I would have known.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only Toku that I've watched so far is, well, I watched a little bit of the original Kamen Rider, because Razan uploaded a podcast, and I was like, I should watch a little bit of Kamen Rider.
I should, if you pick that podcast up again, I have an excuse to go and watch the original Kamen
Rider. And then I would, I didn't want to be the kind of Urobuchi fan whose first proper Kamen Rider is Kamen Rider Gaim. I didn't want to do that to myself. So I made myself watch a few episodes of Kamen Rider Black, which one day I'll get back to. I've got a Kamen Rider list of shows that I want to watch. But then the only other Toku that I've watched is like 3 episodes of Ultra Q. So I was ironically very prepared for like the very first bit of Shin Ultraman. So
yeah,
that's about the extent of my experience with Toku, other than maybe watching lots of Power Ranger Dino Thunder when that was airing. Never finished it, but
Yeah, like I've seen like, I feel like I've seen like almost all of the Heisei Kamen Rider stuff, and a good portion of the Heisei Ultraman stuff, like most of it, and a lot less Sentai, which I'm thinking of back on soon, but that's okay. That's unrelated. But yeah, decent amount of stuff. I haven't really touched Showa stuff though, so that's gonna be interesting. Getting into that stuff.
I hear that Don Brothers show is very good.
Yes. My king Toshiki Inoue is beating everyone.
All right. Well, the idea behind Ultra Q, QUEUE, is we're going to be watching the Ultra series from the beginning, meaning starting with Ultra Q. There's a parentheses here later in this show, and working our way through as far as we go.
In release order, first in, first out, like a queue.
In release order, for the most part.
Yes.
One big exception.
Yeah. So anyway, we all saw Shin Ultraman this week, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we all saw Shin Ultraman. It was pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
I was a fan.
I had a good time.
I guess before we want to start, have any of you guys like seen Shin Godzilla beforehand? Just as like,
Nope.
I have, and it is a movie I like a lot.
I've seen it like twice, and I was like, oh, that's cool, but I don't remember a lot about it.
Yeah, like that is, I find, something that is with that movie. It doesn't always stick with me. I did want to go back and rewatch it prior to seeing this movie. Didn't get around to it, which is the story of my life. But I was also trying. I had seen some talk beforehand, like, don't expect this to be in any way related, or like set up your expectations for this one. Like, they're all separate like all of the Shin series are separate entities for a reason, sort of thing. So like, I was trying to not let it color my expectations too much, other than like, this is going to be a modern reimagining of a iconic, property or whatever that is very beloved. So
Yeah. Two things I'd like to add at the start. One, it was like it doesn't mean anything at all, but it was just very noticeable for me. What was up with the QB mug? That just felt like a weird addition. I was like, what the hell?
I missed
Yeah,
a
I did
QB
know.
mug.
Yes, there was just like a mug with QB's silhouette on it, and it was like, huh, this is obviously not significant, but it's very weird that it's like unframed long enough that they like draw attention to it. It's like, okay, what's the goal here? Number two, as far as like the movie structures goes, does anyone else feel like this has had the energy of like a compilation movie almost?
Yes.
I made that note.
If I may, so before seeing this movie, I had seen a lot of Ultraman fans reassuring people such as me with zero experience with the franchise that they need zero history before going into this. I feel like I maybe after seeing the movie, I understand where they're coming from. I feel like I may want to push back a little bit on that sentiment. I did feel a little bit lost, and it took me a while to get my bearings with this movie, in part because it starts with what I can only describe as, like, one-sentence summaries of what I can only assume were very iconic and beloved episodes of, like, the original Ultraman series.
Well, I have good news for you in about 3 months' time.
I was kind of charmed by the compilation movie thing feel, just because I don't watch compilation movies really. I don't, and when I do, I tend to like them less than the show that I watched. So it was nice to get my own just personal rock up to the cinema, watch a compilation movie for a series that doesn't exist. And just be like, yeah, that was enough.
Yeah, it's weird because like
that's what I got.
It's both a compilation movie for a series that doesn't exist, but also technically the series does exist in some form, and it's called Ultraman 1960, except not.
This is true. This is true.
One of the weirdest things to describe. And it's interesting because even as like. Haven't seen the original Ultraman, but like I've seen like the recent stuff, and if you can believe it, the long-running Toku franchise has a lot of respect for its legacy. And so you see, like even if you're like haven't seen the monsters in their original like Ultraman context, you'll see like the kaiju repeating like, oh hey, it's Mephiles or Zedon. Those are like all-time guys. They show up again. in different content.
Mephiles is an all-time guy.
Yeah.
All-time guy, one of my favorite phrases.
If you want, I've got a summary here of the movie
Yeah,
that I can
maybe I'll
quickly get through.
help out.
Real quick before,
Sure.
can I discuss the pre-show experience?
Yes.
Because
Oh,
it's,
yes.
First of
yes.
all, it should be noted that this podcast is an international effort. We have an American, a Canadian, and someone from the UK, all here together to talk about the beauty of Ultraman. And I feel like it sounded like we all had different, like, the event was set up differently.
I mean, I think
Like,
So
for each of us.
I got interviews. I got 2 interviews prior to the movie.
Yeah.
Were screened. So I got the actor for the main character and the director. And that was what I got.
Yeah, I got the exact same thing.
Okay, so we had a quiz show beforehand, which I earnestly tried my best to do well in. I got 0 out of 12 questions right.
Oh wow!
Yes.
I wish I got the quiz because I was like, oh damn, I could have probably done pretty okay with that.
I took a screen cap of question 8 and its answer just to kind of preserve the experience. So question 8 was Ultraman Z, Gamma Future cannot summon which of the following Ultra heroes? Is it A, Ultraman Tiga, B, Ultraman Dyna, C, Ultraman Gaia, or D, Ultraman Agul?
Oh, it's Ultraman Agul.
Yeah, that was the answer. And every time they showed an answer, they showed a clip of the relevant, like, show or whatever, but it was, like, the dub, which I didn't realize that these shows had dubs.
In recent years, like, Super Eye has been, like, going ham on, like, making Ultraman available in the West. Like, you have the Mill Creek releases, but also they just, like, actually upload the episode of the new show on their YouTube channel. Yeah, with subtitles even, and it's like, hey, English people, it's like they do press releases for the new seasons in English too, and it's like, hey, we want you to watch this, which is really cool, and maybe another major toku studio could learn something. I'm just saying. But...
So after the quiz, I also got the interviews, and I wrote this. I got out my phone and wrote this down because I kind of couldn't believe. So at some point during that interview, the lead actor says, "Today there are wars and a lot of problems worth solving," and I just thought that was a wonderful quote. I wanted to make sure that
we... there are many problems in the world, wars and others.
Worth solving. But
1966, an era known for having 0 wars.
Yes.
Yep.
I think he was also the one that talked about the importance of seeing things from both sides, and I was kind of like, oh, okay, what's this movie gonna be about? Thankfully, my fears, I feel like, were not. I think the sentiment meant by that was could have maybe been conveyed a different way, but we did not get centrist Ultraman, thankfully. I feel so.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how well I could read into the politics of the movie, but it didn't get as like centrist as like one might expect.
I've got some notes on it.
Yeah, let's get to the actual summary that you prepared, because I don't know.
Yeah. So kaiju start attacking Japan, and only Japan. The government establishes the SSSP, a bunch of goofballs who lead the fight against the kaiju. They have a run of successes, but in the midst of a crisis, a giant silver man arrives from space, destroys the problem kaiju, and flies away with it, leaving everyone to wonder, what the hell was that? Asami Hiroko, an intelligence analyst and relentless ass addict, is brought into the SSSP to investigate this new entity that she has dubbed Ultraman. In the office, she clashes with her strange and solitary partner, Kaminaga Shinji, who we learn in the next kaiju attack is secretly Ultraman. Word of Ultraman's existence leaks, and the Earth is threatened by 3 extraterrestrials in quick succession. The first, Zarab, is normal. He kidnaps Shinji and He kidnaps Shinji and impersonates Ultraman to wreak havoc with the aim of coercing Japan into giving him political power. Hiroko learns Shinji is Ultraman and rescues him, and Ultraman makes short work of Zarab. The second threat from outer space is Mephiles. He is not normal. He wants to give humanity the technology to make themselves big, like Ultraman, but has sinister ambitions. So unfolds a series of events that center several of the writer's barely disguised fetishes, including a giant office lady and the smell of a woman who hasn't showered. In the end, Mephiles spots Zophie, Ultraman's boss from outer space, and Mephiles is like, nah, you know what, I'm good, and pieces out. Zophie gives Ultraman a performance review, and Ultraman explains he fused with Shinji, who died protecting a child at the beginning of the movie. Zophie turns out to be the third extraterrestrial threat, as he concludes humanity must be wiped out for the good of the universe. Zophie sets up a big extinction device in orbit called Zeton, but combining the powers of human ingenuity and Ultraman being just a cool superhero, the good guys send Zeton to another dimension before it can fire, though Ultraman is trapped there too. At last, Zophie understands now that humanity does not deserve to be instantly exploded, and Ultraman sacrifices his life in exchange for sending Shinji back to Earth to live again. The end. That's the movie.
Yeah.
Mephiles is my favorite guy ever.
He's so good. I love the energy of his, just like, when I was seeing him, he just like had the energy of like a Silicon Valley type guy. He's just like giving platitudes while also just like being an absolute machine. Like,
It's so funny.
and he's just like, he just like throws out stock human like idioms and just like, oh, this is my favorite phrase. This one isn't. Just being like,
Yeah.
he's like trying to be like a human interaction, but like coasting by on just like, I don't know how to describe it, but you know,
he doesn't quite get it, to the point that like he doesn't quite get movies either, because like he does the moment where he does the one of my least favorite sayings, and it's like, oh shit, and then he does it again. He says, one of my least favorite sayings again, and I was like, no, you can't do it twice.
Yeah. One of my favorite bits of the movie is when he's like, this I don't care enough about this shit anymore, and just fucks off. Incredible, all-time moment.
I really like the part where he's just like chilling Ultraman at the izakaya and just like, yeah, you know, we're just gonna talk him out. I think it's always good when you just have like your antagonist and the hero just like having dinner, chatting things.
Yeah, that was good. His energy is unmatched. It's really weird that we managed to squeeze like 3 very distinct enemies into the movie. Because you know, I stopped watching superhero movies because there aren't any good bad guys anymore. You rock up and there's some generic guy that they have to beat, and this movie just does 3 very distinct villains in very short time, and it's like, they really outclassing
like
when
Marvel here.
Yeah, like what was it?
I will say my hook into the movie was when Zarab showed up.
Yeah.
Or, Zarab. Like, this funny little alien man in a trench coat just shows up and starts to talk to people, and then immediately Ultraman confronts him like, what are you actually doing here? They just have a very heated conversation in a Lexus.
Yes.
Where Ultraman gets kidnapped. And I was like, this is great. I love this weird alien man.
Yeah.
Ultraman pulls off some 5D chess. This was my plan all along, actually, was to get kidnapped in the car exactly like this.
Yeah. I liked, like, I was a bit worried when Mephiles showed up, and it's like, oh, is this movie just gonna be all a sequence of aliens just trying the same plot over and over again. But then like Mephiles was just like a completely different guy with a different plan, and I was like, oh okay, this is good actually. Because if they just did
Yeah.
if they just did Zarab twice, it'd obviously be a shitty movie. But like Mephiles.
It's the three different flavors of how obviously Toku is not anime. It has some crossover, and also Anno is just a big anime guy, and he wrote this movie, right? He wrote the script.
Yeah, he wasn't out. He
I
wasn't a
believe
director,
so.
but he was writer, I think, for this one.
Yes,
I believe
yes.
he wrote and co-edited or something like that.
Okay.
Like he didn't have as much control, I think, as with like Shin Ultraman. Like I mean, Shin Godzilla. Sorry, I think he had more control over that one. But
yeah, the thing that stands out is like I watch a lot of anime. I have some familiarity with some of the stock anime plots. And this does 3 different flavors of the stock sort of how do we feel about America these days plot with the different aliens, which is it's weird because it's like they're superior in power and like trying to sell like tech and weapons to Japan to give it like an edge over its rivals and like use that relationship to make Japan subservient. And then, but it doesn't. The solution to the problem is Ultraman, and he's like the synthesis of the two. So it's like what if we put the Japanese national spirit and the American national spirit in one superhero and that fixed the problem? And I was like, I have very strange politics on this one.
We're gonna probably get into that as we watch more Ultraman.
Oh, great.
Yeah. We'll get into that more later.
It was, it's like I've heard some things about the politics of Shin Godzilla, but like I'm not like that familiar with it. I was expecting, when this kind of plot tends to come up, I tend to expect it to be. I don't know. It was the fusion thing that kind of was the wrench in the spanner in the works.
And that's, I feel like, what ends up like going through the like that opening quote from the actor in the pre-interview or whatever. That's where it kind of landed for me, where I was like, what I think he really meant to say is like being able to see, I guess not even see so the way he phrases it is being able to see a complicated issue from both sides. What I think he genuinely actually meant was being able to have empathy for people that your people are affecting, sort of deal. Because it is Ultraman realizing like, hey, I have a obligation here to do the right thing, and ensure that these people are not being exploited by people with much more means and resources than than they currently have access to. That then kind of closes up the gap there. Just the way that actor decided to phrase it, I feel like was a very bizarre, flattening.
Yeah. And I think like a good thing the movie does, I think like later Ultraman shows Ultra dudes. Well, later, but I mean like for this one, obviously. But other Ultraman stuff does this too, where it's like, Ultraman's got this like crazy power to fight kaiju and stuff, but like he's not invincible. Like he kind of is, but he's also not, and like he can't defeat Zedon by himself, but still needs like the human community to actually defeat Zedon, which is good, I think, rather than just being like, Ultraman is like the savior god that will save everyone kind of thing.
It is good. It is good.
Yeah.
The movie having slightly like strange politics is that's kind of what I expect from like a superhero movie. Because like I'm mostly not that bothered. I thought the movie was fun.
Yeah. That's important.
I thought, yeah, the bit where they had like CG for trying to replicate like people in suits fighting each other was just really fun. I thought it was great. I thought it was really cool. I was very endearing.
I described this to a friend, but like it kind of reminded me of those like Pokemon trading card game commercials you had in the mid 2000s, where like they would animate the Pokemon kind of like very very briefly in CG. It just had that vibe to me, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cute.
I think one thing they do well, and I think the CG helps with this, is just like there's an alienness to Ultraman that isn't necessarily as present in other Ultraman stuff, because like most Ultraman stuff is just a guy in a suit. But like I think just by being CG, this Ultraman just sometimes just does weird shit, like comes onto the scene and then starts like eye posing while spinning, and it's like, what the fuck?
Right, yes. God, the spinning caught me off guard. I was like,
Just
okay.
like waiting for the scene where Shin Ultraman T poses to a certain.
Yeah. I was like, I guess you can't do that with a real dude. You can just spin on the spot. Yeah. But yeah, I also, I just like so this movie, this is not a complaint. I think it's very like funny. This movie is like made by some kind of freak. The moment when the giant office lady walked on screen, I was like, what movie am I watching?
Yeah, so I went through a roller coaster on that one where I was watching it and I was like, okay, this is a little much. And then like the scene kept going on and it wasn't really commented on, and I was like, am I just a little fucking freak? Like, am I thinking too hard about this? And then immediately the next scene, they talk about the internet's response to the giant office lady, and I'm like, okay, no, they know, they know. All right, I'm not a freak.
Mephiles like chiming in, just like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that your planet was full of weirdos.
It just deletes everything off. And then they double down by having like Ultraman sniff her later.
Yes,
not sure is a scene.
She's the center of whatever, they roll a dice on whatever fetish they wanted to pick next, and then they just roll with it. When I'm having much more like capacity for like just laughing along with that kind of thing, when it's like a lot of other superhero movies is just like so corporate and dead and soulless. There was some guy behind the camera who was just like, I was like, yeah, you're a weirdo. Great, fantastic.
If this was a Marvel movie, then like the sniffing scene would happen, and then like one of the guys would be like, well, that just happened.
Yeah. It also helps that she's just a fun character anyway. The lot of just good jokes.
Yeah. There's definitely, I think definitely in the spirit of like Shin Godzilla, there's a bunch of jokes about like government bureaucracy, but it's like not as much as part of the plot / politics. I mean, I think it's there, but it's like, I think it's like in Shin Godzilla that's like at the forefront, and it's not as much in the forefront.
Yeah, the suits sat opposite like Zarab, or like clapping as like they sign something, and then like exact same thing happening with them sat opposite Mephiles. I was like, okay, this is funny.
I loved that so much. Or just even as when Mephiles is dealing with Ultraman or whatever, just the suits involved with the agreement just being so bewildered and just like, can we get this on, like, just going? Mephiles is like, give me 5 seconds. I appreciate them being an element for sure. But at the same time too, I also feel like they definitely not as much of that going on as there was in Shin Godzilla. But I also feel like, they did a good job with it. I don't think we needed scene after scene of them focusing on that stuff. I think they balanced it quite well.
Yeah, my favorite one of all of that was just whoever is the guy responsible for the SSSP sort of like leaning into some guy and say, "Oh, for the bombs, by the way, you're gonna charge the Defense Department, right?" Not us. We're good. Yeah, we're good.
That was a good one. Yeah. Also, I liked near the end. I was just thinking, like, the way like humanity comes together to solve a plan for like defeating Zeton, and like I was like, oh, is this movie going the direction of, oh, maybe humans can understand each other? But then in the final scene, you have like Ultraman like talking to Zoffi in the void, and he's like, "You fool! I can't understand humans. They're too complicated. Send me back to Earth. I gotta figure this shit out."
I will say I love to hang out with all of my homies wearing my PlayStation VR headset
Oh my
Oh,
god.
yeah.
in an office chair. Just that was a good time.
Oh, him. That was
We
ridiculous.
got we got the meeting of all the world's minds to like stop the human extinction, and we're talking on Zoom and
I
PlayStation VR.
wanted to know what avatar he had. I wanted to know
Yeah, yeah. We need to know what VR
which,
chat server were they in. What avatar was everyone using? What was going on there?
which Thunderbird was he. Yeah, it was just a good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like I may be a little bit cooler on it than the two of you, but I feel like that is also only because I also think I'm the one here with the least amount of experience with this like series as a whole. And I feel like definitely as I don't know, I'm kind of a fiend for context, and I feel like as soon as I get it with this movie for the relevant bits, I'm going to develop a whole new appreciation for it. But like as it stands, just as someone going into this raw, I really appreciate this movie. I do like I was a little bit. It took me a while to get like a hook in, and it wasn't until Zara showed up that I really felt like I was on board.
Mhm.
But then the escalation from him, and then it kind of being revealed that his invasion plot to kind of sow dissent and like kind of have humanity tear itself apart was part of Mephilus's like kind of grand scheme, and then his machinations resulted in the Planet of Light taking notice and sending their emissary down. Like there's a very nice A to B to C with all of that. That again, it does feel like a compilation movie, and it does feel like three important episodes from a show that I'm sure we're gonna watch, like stapled together. But they do a good job of threading the needle on it. And the other thing that I really wanted to take away, or that I really took away from this movie, and I wanted to highlight was I feel like it does a good job of showing why Ultraman gives a shit about humanity without giving us like very egregious scenes of him watching like children play, or like I don't know. I think that you
Right.
totally understand where he's coming from, just based on the body that he chose to inhabit, but then also working with the SS, I forget the
I think it's
acronym.
like SSSP.
SSSP,
There's
yes.
a lot of those in the
Um,
series.
yeah, and slowly develop that like appreciation for why humanity is something worth fighting for and protecting. And you know, unlike other alien life forms, he doesn't view them as like a plague upon the universe or a potential source of weaponry. Also, if I recall, was there not a point in the movie where I think it's as soon as the giant office lady stuff happens or whatever, someone's like, "Oh, America is absolutely gonna go hog wild on the giant person shit if we let them."
Yes.
Yes, they sure
Yeah,
did that.
that was fun.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I mean, I definitely enjoy this movie. I definitely went in. You know, it's been a while since I really like got really into Ultraman. Because I've been like hyper fixating on other things. But I went in this and I was like, oh shit, yeah, Ultraman. I love that shit. Go watch more Ultraman. Just it was just like a very good time. There's definitely some weird shit about it, but like very enjoyable. I think I agree with all the things you said about like setting up. Why Ultraman cares. I also will say like looking back to the start of the movie, I think they do a good job of like setting up like the reveal that he's like already Ultraman by like the start. The way he's just like reading stuff in the office, like doing all this research on humanity thing. Uh, I think they do a lot of like good setup and like you don't necessarily like, come out of nowhere. Like they set things up pretty well. So yeah, I think pretty good. It'll be good to
yeah.
like watch the original show and like get context for the things that's explicitly referencing, and also seeing how like they're obviously different. Um,
Mhm.
twist on the old classic, so to speak. Uh, and yeah, it's a good time.
It should be a good time. Well, unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to Ultraman for a bit because from what I know, the first show is not called Ultraman.
No,
First show is called Ultra Q. which not to be confused with this show, Ultra Q. So, starting next episode, we are going to be watching 3 episodes of Ultra Q a week. We'll have to squeeze in a 4-episode week somewhere, probably for the finale. Next week, we'll be talking about Ultra Q episodes 1, 2, and 3. Those are the 3 that I have watched. And that'll be it. That'll be as far as I've gone.
I know absolutely nothing about Ultra Q.
Yeah, I'm in the dark as well. I know it doesn't have Ultraman in it, and that's it.
Yeah.
See, like, I didn't even know that. Like, I was vaguely, like... I kind of assumed because it wasn't called Ultraman, but I wasn't. So, yeah, we'll see what...
I can't believe I'm the one that's not in the dark. This is pretty fun. Yeah. That'll be next week. Do we have anything else to say about Shin Ultraman? I'm gonna take that as a no.
No, I'm
I think I said my
Yeah.
piece
we're
on
pretty
it.
good.
Fantastic. Do we want to do plugs?
I guess. I didn't mean to come off. So
Yeah,
depressed
no,
sounding
I
with
guess.
That's social media. Am I right, fellas?
Listen, being a person who makes things online is a journey about trying not to be too overbearing about the shit you make, but also really wanting to talk about the shit you make. I'm a YouTuber. I'm sorry. You can find me at Rosenbrand on YouTube. I'm also at Rosenbrand on Twitter.com. I took a long time away from making videos. I'm gonna get back to making videos soon. Watch my Elden Ring Let's Play. It's a good time. It's also very long. I'm gonna try to wrap that up before that game's first year anniversary. Yeah.
I have a Twitter. It's at Dear Crowns. I don't have much else. So yeah.
I am also don't have much, just a Twitter at gender_redacted. And you can follow the podcast at ultra_Q. That is ultra_QUEUE.
Subscribe to Ultra Q on your podcast feed of choice. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
We call them pod catchers now.
Pod
I think
catchers.
that's, yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm behind on the times.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a podcast. Thank you for listening. Join us next time.
Yes, thank you.
3 episodes of Ultra Q.